live! It worked! Yeah!
Hey!
Hey, Zach is here already. Awesome to see you. Hello, hello. All right. Okay. This is going to be fun. Okay. I'm the bauble now. Here. There. I'm trying a new live tool, so I apologize up front for any complications and weirdness and clickiness. We just, we roll with this on this channel. That's kind of how this stuff works. And that's the long-winded intro for me with hello. I am so excited for this, if you can't tell. And I'm getting stuck in my cable already. See, that's how it starts already. We are talking Assassin's Apprentice today by Robin Hobb. As you maybe can tell, no, this direction, there. There needs to be a hand now wobbling on Derri's side somewhere.
Yes. Hello.
Because if Derri is there, we are talking Robin Hobb. And in addition to Derri, we have Todd with us from, as you can see, his channel, Mysterious Galaxies, which I'm also very excited about because it's his first live. So say hello to his first live.
Yeah. Thank you. I hope I don't embarrass myself too much.
Oh, no worries. I do that for you.
This is a small enough corner of booktube that everybody knows us enough to go, it's just who they are. Just roll with it.
Hello, Edward. Okay, I definitely have a comment delay. I see that because I have my YouTube studio on the other side here.
Yeah, that's usually
but that's okay. Hello.
Hey,
Awesome.
people. Glad you made it.
All right. So, to set the stage a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? I absolutely apologize. Do you want to say something about your channels? Maybe what you usually cover if you're not reading Assassin's Apprentice?
Which, let's face it, is a lot. Although I haven't read it for a while. Hi, I'm Derri. I'm pretty sure most people here know me already. I have read it before. In this instance, a great deal. This is one of the first books, which means it got reread the most. And we're into 20-something. 20... What year is that? 26? So, 23 times.
Oh my goodness.
I've read Assassin's Apprentice. So, yeah. And I'm excited. Like, properly excited. So.
To talk with new readers.
I really am. It's been a while since I spoke to people about just the first book. So it's like, whoo.
Yeah, I've only ever read the first book. I think maybe I've read the second book. I know I read the first one definitely in high school. I think I read the second one at that time. And then, ironically enough, I read the first book again last year. And then Josephine was like, hey, do you want to join this buddy read? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, why not? So I ended up rereading it again early this year. So yeah, outside of the first book, I don't remember much of anything. And as you're going to learn throughout this conversation, I don't even really remember most of the first book. So it's all a fog. It's the joys of having a newborn at home. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And just sleep deprivation.
That's okay. Well,
that means you add to the entertainment factor.
Yes.
Yeah. I probably just make up plot lines in my head. Things I think happened in the book. I don't know.
We will get that together.
The other thing would be, are we doing a little bit at the beginning spoiler free, or are we jumping straight into free for all?
We are definitely ignoring Edward's comment.
It's like cheeky. Actually, of my tattoos, I don't have a Robin Hobb tattoo yet. So
what? That doesn't make any sense, Derri.
I know it's a bit crazy, but
Yeah.
I'm poor. Tattoos are expensive.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Books are more important, I guess.
Yeah, kinda.
Well, we're starting spoiler free with where do you got your poster from, Derri?
I actually got it from Temu, and there's a whole load of them, and you can buy it just on canvas, just rolled canvas. And so I was
That's
like,
kinda
of
cool.
all of them, that one's my favorite. That's the one I'm having.
That makes sense.
Is that your favorite book?
Yeah. Fool's Errand.
That is the fourth. That's the fourth part, right? Tawny Men?
If you don't count live ships, it's the fourth with Fitz as the narrator.
Okay.
If you're counting the whole series, it's the seventh.
Oh, I'm totally off. Got it. Never mind. I'll just shut up. Okay. Ugh, that was too far. Farseer and Wolf of... okay. Yes, that is one of the questions that I had. Well, we put it forward. So Farseer trilogy, Assassin's Apprentice, Quest, and...
It's Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and then Assassin's Quest.
That way.
Is the Farseer trilogy.
Perfect. And then the novella, the Wolf of Prince novella, when are you supposed to read that one?
Well, to be fair, there isn't a supposed to, because it came out sort of between the Rain Wilds and the final trilogy. I personally think the best time to read it, if you're going to read it during the series, is before Tawny Man. So after you've done the live ships, and then just sort of reset into Buck world of things with
Gotcha.
the little brief prehistory in the Willful Prince and Princess. And it delves, because even though it's set a good sort of 100 and some years before, so none of the characters are in it, it doesn't affect the plot.
Okay, that's
What
good
it
to know.
does do is give you background to some of the themes and reasons for things that are going to be major parts of the Tawny Man trilogy. So, and it's great. It's like a really good little novella. So,
Gotcha. So you have to read it again, Zach. Once you're before the Tawny Man trilogy, just read it again. The novella.
it's not hard to read. It's lovely. It is a lovely little novella.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm totally squirrel brained. I'm going through the comments, and then at one point we will start talking about the book, maybe. In All the Grave, a bastard give him along the way. What? So there's a guy, Regal, who's the main character, and All the Grave, a bastard gives him along the way. Do you know what that means? I have no clue.
I think he's saying Regal's the main character, and then Fitz comes along and gives him a bunch of grief along the way, right?
Well, from Regal's point of view, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. The description of the book. Listen, I need more coffee.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm with you now. See? It already starts. Congrats on the new baby.
Thank you. That's my wife.
Well, then more congrats for you.
I was going to say,
You did all the work.
honey, well done.
Hey, I was there. I participated.
You stood
Oh, I
next to
know.
her. You are talking to women, Todd. You already lost in that
I
conversation.
was
It's
not
the
sitting next to
actual
her during the
presser of
creation
the
of the
baby.
baby.
As presents.
I mean, you lay next to her, so come on. All right, we're moving on from that conversation.
Funny.
Ugh,
I mean,
Edward.
probably the thing that I find interesting is that without booktube, without this little corner of fantasy readers, would you even have known that this series existed?
No. Not. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have stumbled over the bookstore at one point, but probably not as soon as I did here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first fantasy series that I came across after like Harry Potter. That was coming out when I was in elementary school and then middle school. So then after I finished, Harry Potter, I was obviously kind of looking to graduate to the next thing. And, we had a Borders at that time. We didn't even have a Barnes & Noble. And then someone at Borders recommended Assassin's Apprentice. But they only had the first two books. That's why I remember only reading the first two.
Oh, interesting.
And so I got that, and then I heard, I think it was George Martin give credit to Robin Hobb. So then that's how I found George Martin's work, I think like right around 9th or 10th grade. So
That is so
yeah,
funny.
it was one of the only fantasy books that I read, because I was always more like science fiction and horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting though. Like, how many people read Robin Hobb before they read Game of Thrones?
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's
I
great.
really do love to hear
Yeah.
it. Because they were being published when George was regularly bringing them out. They were kind of coming out at the same time. They were coming out in the late 90s and early 2000s. So they not only were peers in terms of we're both making books right now, they shared an editor. So they actually had a lot of interaction.
Really?
And there's a surprising number of buzzwords that the series share, and that's about it.
It is very different from Game of Thrones, yeah.
Yeah, they do that great character work. Both authors are known for character work. There's wolves. There's a bastard. You know, there's little things that on paper you'd go, well, they must be quite similar then.
Yeah.
No.
I'm waiting
At
for
least not-
incest.
Yeah. At least not based off of the first book.
But the other thing is the name I find often throws people. Assassin's Apprentice often conjures sort of high adrenaline, action-packed kind
Yeah.
of daredevil to-dos, and yet what we actually get is this quite quiet coming of age. And if people aren't expecting that, it can throw them off in a big way. Did you know going into it, Todd, particularly, that it was going to be a quiet read? I know I've already warned Venus, so...
No, I had no idea what it was. I just had the paperback. The person at Borders recommended it, and that's kind of what I went in. You know, based on the title alone, though, I was not, I guess, thinking that it was going to be this introspective book. I don't know. I guess I thought it was going to be kind of more like Conan the Barbarian type of things, just based on the title of Assassin's Apprentice.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we're going to go out and we're going to kill some bad guys. But yeah, you get anything but that. in
Yeah.
this.
I mean, a little bit, right? Because he starts his assassin's apprenticeship, but you don't see any of that, really.
Yeah.
So,
What you do see is these are the tools and the skills you're going to need. So that's what we're going to work on.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to look at your memory and we're going to see how well you gather information. And so,
yeah.
much quieter kind of.
Yeah. So Edward knew it before. Did you read it before BookTube 2, or did you read it after BookTube, Edward? And then Zach, his wife and Hobb went to the same school.
That is so cool, Zach. Seriously.
That is really cool.
That is, yeah. Are you still in contact, or is that just more like a long story? Class reunions are going to be interesting now. All right. So to get to the book, yeah, I mean, if we can try to do a little bit spoiler free, let's see how far we get without, getting into spoilers. So just in case, fair warning up front for anybody who hasn't read the book, we might spoil something. Just
We will try not to.
we'll try not to, but it might happen.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yep. Yep.
That's interesting.
Okay, so before we talk about the book, can you read them out of order? Like, can you read Life Ship?
No. Don't, no. No.
Got it. All right.
There are people who will say, you can read Live Ships first. No, you shouldn't. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, I'm not the book police because they still won't send me the badge. But everybody can read what they like. Please don't read Live Ships first. There's
stuff happening you don't want to know. Got it.
And the thing is, it's not even that you're going to get spoilers in Live Ships. It's that the story of Live Ships sets up a reality that is different to the reality you get in Farseer. And having the knowledge from Live Ship going into Farseer takes away some of what that is really important that they unearth in Farseer.
Gotcha.
And you miss the importance of it because you're like, well, it's not what is the case. Because it is the case. It's just a different version of the truth. So you have to come at it in the right order. And it bothers me when people say you can read Live Ships, they're not connected. Yes, they are. Trust me.
All right. Okay, so just to clarify, not at the same time on the school, wife and school, not the same time. Good.
Okay.
That makes
This is
class
more
reunions then
rapid
a bit more straightforward. Gotcha. All right. Okay. Now I'm hiding behind the thing again. Sorry about that. I'll pay for this eventually, and then we don't have to deal with this anymore. Assassin's Apprentice. So actually, funny enough, with the name of it, Brent Weeks has a book, Assassin's something rather. I'm blanking on the exact name, but it's also a trilogy, I believe, with actual assassins. Like that is like your typical assassin story. And every time. Yeah, exactly. And every time I see a book where it's like, oh, this is with assassins, that's in my head what I compare it to. Like I don't know why, but I read it forever ago and I really liked it. But yeah, so there was a little bit of that anticipation of like, ooh, assassin, like in whatever the Brent Weeks story is called, which obviously we are not getting. I went into this as blind as possible, though. I didn't watch any of your videos in detail, Derri. Like I really on purpose stayed away from that because I love going into big series like this as blind as possible to not spoil myself for one, right? And then also to not set an expectation that is wrong, potentially. Happened to Red Rising when bad, really, really bad for me, or like really wrong for me. So I'm glad I didn't know too much. Night Angel, that's what it's called. Yes, thank you. Yes, that is the one I'm talking about. Like I loved going into this as so super blind, not knowing anything. I knew the name Fitz, obviously, because parts of like other parts of the series have the name Fitz in it, right? So I knew this was a character, but I didn't know this was a 6-year-old when we start off at the very beginning of the story. I didn't know it was a coming of age. I didn't know there's, the things that are in there that I'm trying not to spoil right now. It's so different for it to be like an epic fantasy series. If you think about it, right? Game of Thrones, what are other big series that I've read before? Lord of the Rings. I put it into that same category of epicness.
Yeah.
And this starts out so differently than all of these other series. All of these other series are like huge, and you get to see like the big picture relatively early on, and you get a lot of action relatively early on. There's a lot of kerfuffle, deep dive.
Big goals immediately on the page. Oh, we've got to find a killer. Oh, we've got to go and do the thing. We're on a mission. You're following a boy. And you're like, what are we doing? What is the point of the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting that way.
It invites you in and kind of goes, just come and hang out at the keep for a while.
Yeah. How was that for you, Todd? Like you said, you did a lot of sci-fi and horror before, so this was your second fantasy then after. I mean, Harry Potter is also very different than Robin Hobb. Do you remember that?
I don't remember it too much. Well, I mean, technically my second was probably the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Fair.
So yeah, Harry Potter is a different beast from the Lord of the Rings, and then both of them are quite different than the beginning of Assassin's Apprentice. I do remember reading Aragon right around the same time. Okay. And that kind of follows a young farm boy as well. It's, that follows the trope.
Yeah, that does stay very close to those tropes.
Yeah, but then they kind of diverge. And I was kind of thinking about the two even before we went on this call, and that one seems to kind of closely, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, more be I guess like YA or what we typically associate with that, whereas. This is following a young kid and then kind of like an angsty-ish teenager.
Oh,
but
there's nothing ish about it.
Yeah, it's very mature. Like I never get the same level, and I guess it's just a difference in maturity level. But yeah,
and the perspective of the story gives you that because you're getting this retroactive, looking back on his own story. I'm just going to close this curtain. One moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just going like, Mort also follows a young farm boy. Princess Bride follows a young farm boy. Okay, we get it. It's a typical trope in fantasy. Thank you. Thank you for pointing this out. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Todd.
No, it's all right. I don't even know where I was going with that line of thought. But yeah, coming from just mainly reading science fiction and going into fantasy, I guess I didn't have any expectations, truthfully, because I had only read two of the major fantasy works at that point. I do remember enjoying it. I just didn't necessarily get what I wanted out of it as like a 13-year-old boy.
Fair.
Again, I went into it thinking Conan the Barbarian
Yeah.
type of assassinating people. I guess, assassinating as in like Assassin's Creed type
Yeah.
of assassinating, like being very bloody, not necessarily poisoning people or something like that.
No,
Um,
it does do the books a disservice, I think, because the cultural expectation is for that high adrenaline sort of running across rooftops carry on.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they are on a
exactly.
rooftop
Yeah,
at one point, so
They
come on,
are.
people.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not quite the same.
No, I know.
But
No.
I will say, with a history of reading horror, Todd, how did you find the vibe? Because horror books are often about establishing a feeling to before you get into the story. So how did you find the general vibe? And that's what Robin Hobb's doing in the first few chapters of the book is just putting you in the castle and sort of going, this is how things currently stand.
Yeah.
How did that kind of work for you?
Well, what's kind of interesting about that is, and I actually found the same thing interesting throughout the reread as well. Like my favorite part was about like the zombie, what are they, forged? The forged
Yeah.
people? Like that was my favorite part back then. And
Yes.
then it's also my favorite part now, like in horror, like thinking like Salem's Lot, my favorite aspect of Salem's Lot is kind of like watching the destruction of the actual town. I don't know, maybe that says something about me. Um, and so like, these people coming back and you're not really told much, well, I guess we're kind of getting into the
We're just
spoilers.
getting into spoilers now. Just don't
Yeah,
worry about it.
my
It's
bad,
good.
my bad.
Thank,
But,
no, go ahead.
yeah, they're taken and then they're just brought back and they're just these husks of themselves, and it's very much out of a horror story, while as everything else is very much in line with a fantasy novel. So, again, that's kind of the aspect that I found most intriguing. And then as far as like the overall atmosphere, I think she does a really wonderful job. We have the fool who's just kind of this enigma, if you will. Like you don't really know much about him. Like he's just popping in and out of walls, and like the entire Buckkeep Palace itself is kind of, it's creepy in a way. Like it never strikes me as something that's really regal. Like I don't think it's run down, but in my head, like I kind of picture it that way, if you will. Like it's really kind of fascinating, and I think I enjoy it a lot more now as an adult than I did back when I first read it, eighth or ninth grade, whenever it was, because again, I wanted something different from the story at that time than what I've come to appreciate now at 35 years old.
Yeah. There's a Thornall says it. All the major events happen in the background. It fits the story.
Because Tharnall's just finished reading Assassin's Apprentice as well. He's beginning,
Very
for
good.
Assassin, so he's very much where you guys are. And he's right. And I do tell people this because one of the common sentences you hear around the Farseer trilogy is that nothing happens. You'll have heard this. You'll have had so many people say, nothing happens in these books.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The plot happens around Fitz, but it's all from his point of view, and he's a
Yeah.
child, so
Yeah.
he doesn't grasp what's happening. So you get told what's happening around him, but because he's a child, he doesn't know where to place the importance of what he's seeing.
Yeah.
It's and I've said this to people in the past. This is a series where even when you get to the end of all of these books, so many people immediately want to start again. Now that they've got context for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
I highly
cool.
recommend they do, because nothing's hidden. Everything is there. But Fitz hasn't looked directly at them, but the information's there. And so the second time around is a completely different story. because the information that you're given, you can align differently.
Yeah.
And so it's telling sort of what is in the background of your first read becomes more to the forefront in your second. And so the nothing happens is people not taking the time to kind of go, okay, there's stuff happening here that Fitz isn't paying attention to, but it's being mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is definitely, for me, that was like the big realization in the stories, that I came out with so many questions. I was
Yeah.
like, so what is with this? What is with this? And one of the things, like, I know in our little group chat, I threw this out there. It's like, this really bothers me right now. What is this? What did this mean? I'm blanking on what it was exactly, but it was close to the end.
The necklace or
Yes.
the ring or something. Yeah.
Yes. So there was something mentioned around the necklace on, it sounded like there's more to that necklace than it seemed.
The earring.
Or
The
earring.
earring.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it was. And I was like, wait, hang on. What does this mean? Go through the pages. What does this mean? Tell me. Like, but there were so many situations where you're just like, okay, this just happened, and we just walk by it. Like, hello, come on. That is so fascinating too. And like this whole vibe experience. Now that you're saying this so specifically, I didn't really think about it, but it makes so much sense with, well, it's Fitz's story, so it's his point of view and what a 6-year-old or 10-year-old or whatever, right, like finds important
Yeah.
at that point. It matches with the vibe we are getting off this big castle, like his whole story of he was just, dropped off at the stables essentially, and then grew up with people he didn't know till that point, and kind of always feels like pushed out from his father. Like his father doesn't acknowledge him, right, and ignores him, and he's with like random people that are not really family, that just become family. And then in this ginormous castle, like you have to imagine, I mean, I imagine it as like a medieval style castle that they are living in. Big gray walls, ginormous halls that they are walking on, cold, dreadful, and that as like a kid, and that vibe is so good in the book. Like you can pick this up as he is walking up and down the stairs and everything. It is so cool how that is written.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
what I have to
absolutely.
keep reminding myself, kind of like about that, is he's telling us this as an old man.
Yeah.
And like when I think back on my childhood, I'm probably misremembering a whole bunch of things, and I'm just kind of like putting the pieces together as best as I can. Or like it's like when you have a memory of something, but you're like, do I actually remember it, or am I remembering it through photographs and like my parents telling me about that? So like at the same time I'm reading about it, and I'm picturing this castle, and I'm like, is he a reliable narrator? Like, is it really, are these people as bad as they are? Like it's really quite interesting. And because I haven't, continued with the series, and I haven't read the second book since high school, like
Yeah.
I have no clue what's even going on. So it's kind of fun to kind of put the picture together, knowing that he's now an old man. Because I think at one point he's like described as having like really like arthritic hands or something like that. So
He talks a lot about the pain that he's in, and
yeah.
and how old he feels.
Yeah.
And I love that that's something that you've picked up, that sense of, can we actually trust what he's telling us as being accurate?
Yeah.
Because that is the perfect thing to keep in mind, because he is also writing it down knowing that people might read it. So there's an aspect of how much is he being honest about his own motivations and his own descriptions of events, because to some degree, how much of this is him trying to make himself look better?
Yeah.
And knowing that you've caught that so early in the story, I'm chuffed. Wonderful.
And now knowing also, like the one thing that I, with stories like this, that I always think about, like, is he the good guy, right? Like throughout this whole series, does he end up being the good guy? And that's one thing that I'm really excited to figure out. When you read through the story, to see, okay, which direction does this go? It's very interestingly set up this way. And what I find especially interesting now that you said, once you then reread it, you see it then from a different angle. That is actually a really interesting way on how she wrote it too, because I'm sure there was some sort of purpose when she did that when she started writing it, that she wrote it with a sense of, unreliable narrator, and then you go back and then you see things differently eventually. I don't know. Maybe it was by accident. Who knows?
Part of
But
it, I find that funny because my outrage at people reading live ships first. Farseer was going to be the be all and end all. That was going to be a trilogy. Full stop.
okay, so it was not on purpose. Got it.
No. And she was writing live ships as a completely different set of books, trilogy set on a different world, and a character from Farseer wanted to be in the story, and she let them, and was like, I don't know how these are connected yet, but apparently they are, and that's where we got.
So she pantsed her way through the whole series. Unbelievable. That is so cool.
And yeah, and each time she would be like, oh no, actually no, I do see how this fits. But the way she's written her story is done in such a way that the structure was there. She left herself enough hooks in it to go, I can expand on that, I can expand on this. Nothing gets wedged in retroactively. It all fits perfectly.
Oh, that
And
is so cool.
it's really a joy to read, knowing that it was as she went, and she sort of tacked on the next bit, and it just slotted in beautifully. It's really lovely to know.
Yeah. I'm going back on a couple of comments because there was a whole conversation here happening on the site as well.
Yeah.
I don't think Fitz is that dumb, and then I agree with that. Has some serious blind spots in terms of judgments. Yep. Developmentally appropriate blind spots. I love that. That's a great way of putting that.
It is.
If my father figure was the equivalent of a CIA, yeah, my actual father faked the death of my favorite animal only to take them out later. My God. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is a dog in this case.
Yep. Chapter 2.
Poor Nosy.
What? What was she thinking? What the? It's my channel. I can swear. What the fuck was happening there?
And hey, I get it. I do. But again, this is Fitz's point of view, and he hasn't known Burrick for very long. Even though, if you really think about it, even in the second chapter, by then you know it's not part of Burrick's character to do that. Mm-hmm. You still believe that he has. And Fitz believes that Burrick's killed this puppy. And that forms his...
Yes, me too, because he didn't feel him anymore, right? Like, that was the whole thing. He didn't...
Yeah, that severing of the connection is what really drove home. Like, he just killed a puppy. Like, what kind of monster kills a puppy?
Yeah, and you do, and you believe that that's happened, and it changes the fact that Fitz is now, as a child, as a 6, 7-year-old child, thinking, they've acknowledged that I exist, that my father was the king in waiting, but they've given my care over to a guy who will kill a puppy.
Yeah.
How important am I? You know, I got abandoned by my parents. I've been, shunted from pillar to post, and I'm left with a guy who would kill a puppy. So at that young, he's learned, I better earn my place, because they could just decide to take me out.
Yeah.
The guy killed my puppy.
Yeah.
Without registering, like an adult would, of going, nothing about Burrick to this point suggests he has that in him. Nothing. And everything you see after that is the same. He would never do that.
Well,
believe in his heart.
Again, I only have the first book for my knowledge, so I only have that limited story of that. So there were signs, though, because he was very aggressive when it came to the ability with talking with the dog, or like merging. I don't know exactly what it is. Like, it's not talking with the dog, but this like connecting with the dog in that way, right? So there were signs where he was very aggressive and stern with Fitz on, you cannot do this. Like, this is not a thing you do. And then after it happened again and again, he killed the puppy. And it's like, okay, I kind of get it. Like, I believe Burrick in that case, right? It's at that point in time. And trust me, all of the times, first, second, third time, or 1.2, however you say that, Like, I had to put the book down because for me, this is the worst thing in a book. Like, killing an animal for me is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And I had to put the book down on all three
Yeah.
occasions. And after it happened the first time, I was ready to walk away from the book and be like, nope, nope. Like, kill people all you want. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kill the main character. I don't
Yeah.
care. But do not kill the frickin' puppy or any other animal for that matter. Like,
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe
Well,
this.
I think it does a really tremendous job of establishing just how dangerous the wit can be.
Yes.
Like, you know, that someone, obviously, no one really wants to kill a puppy, I don't imagine. Unless you're from the dead zone, which I've also warned you about.
Yes.
But, you know, like, the fact that he's willing to destroy this poor animal just in order to show Fitz that the wit is this extremely dangerous that you can't have that bond like immediately up front because as you pointed out, this happens in the second chapter. You have an understanding of, okay, this is some really powerful magic that you can kind of lose yourself in and you just you get lost in it. So you have this in the back of your mind every
Yep.
single time that this is growing as a potential plot line for Fitz.
Yeah. Just saying hello real quick. Just FYI, we're doing spoilers. I think you
Hello.
read it, Angie, right? Like I think you read. Just in case, if you haven't read Assassin's Apprentice yet, we are talking spoilers. Just FYI. But hello, good to have you.
But no, and the thing with this is that because wit is seen as this dirty magic, this beast magic, nobody talks about it. So the only other person whose point of view we get on it is Burrick's. And with anything with an unreliable narrator is what has formed his opinion. Is this everybody's opinion? How extreme is he on the spectrum of judgment? And it's just one of the wonderful things that Hobb's able to do, in that all of the characters exist in their own worlds. They all have their own motivations and backgrounds and reasons for doing it.
Which is a reality, right? I mean, that is
Yeah.
very, very real. Like, if you think about it, every person in this world has their own agenda, and this book
Yeah.
shows that really, really well.
They're carrying their own baggage, they've got their
Yeah.
own trauma, and they're going to react to things
Yeah.
differently than someone else. And so you see
Actually,
this.
boy story. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, Derri, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right. It's just that's, and you can sense it, and that how strongly Burrick demands that he stop. That this is dangerous. This is going to get you killed. He's the most forceful he ever is around his determination to stop Fitz doing this.
Yeah.
Really, it's an issue for Burrick.
No kidding.
So, and that's the thing. But how extreme would that reaction be if somebody else discovered Fitz was witted?
Well, and that is one of the questions that comes through that, the way it is described, right? Like through
Yeah.
that interaction with Burrich. That's one of the big questions that I definitely had also after finishing the book. So what is it with this ability to connect with an animal? What is it about? Like, where is this coming from? What's the history of this? Is this some other racist ability that we haven't met? You know, like
Yeah.
questions over questions. And especially as someone who has read fantasy before and knows where fantasy can go in some cases, you know, like there are various theories that I at least have in my head right now. It's like, where is this coming from? Especially since there's other magic that is totally fine. I mean, he learns the other magic, right? I'm forgetting what that name for that one was, but
Skill.
yes, he learns that. So magic in itself is not a problem. It's just this particular one that is the issue, which is so interesting.
How did you find when we learned about the skill and he was given the opportunity to learn the skill? And there's a couple of things there. One I want to circle back to, but the main one is the intensity of hatred that Galen has for Fitz, and how that plays out throughout his teaching. I found that really difficult to read. That extreme self-isolation that the students had to go through. And how did that sit with you guys in terms of the way this was being taught and what it was they were learning?
Just for clarification, the skill is the one that's like only for nobility, right? And the wit is the one that's more commonly
Yeah.
around. Okay.
The skill is usually found in the royal bloodline. Yeah. And it's all about, thinking thoughts at each other. And
Yeah. Well, like the first thing that I thought of, maybe it's like, politically minded. But I found it really interesting that the one that was more commonly found throughout everyone else would be the one that was shunned away. Like you're not allowed to use this, but this one that's only found in the nobility, that one, it's this really powerful thing that you should be proud of. If you have this ability, we have to cultivate this inside of you. But the one that, Molly Nosebleed, if she randomly had it, like, no, we have to hide that one away. And I think it's just kind of like it's this really interesting dichotomy between the haves in the story and the haves not, that like it's even down to a magic system.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know
you're
if
quite
that's
right. Yeah.
later, I don't know, but it is really interesting to me.
Yeah. Also a nice vehicle in fantasy stories to have a class system like that. But it's done in an interesting way. Yeah. How they got it is interesting too, right? Like, Derri, to your question a little bit with the, like them isolating themselves, them being
Yeah.
forced to just be with themselves and only eating specific things and so on. I actually thought I didn't like. It shows more how I read books. Like while I'm reading, I'll just consume. I don't think
Yeah.
too much. It happens once I close things and then start thinking about it. So while I was reading, I didn't think too much about it. I was like, oh, this is he definitely has some anger issues. He is letting it out on the students, right? He has like some sort of power trip going on. Like that was the extent to the thought that I had. But
Yeah.
afterwards, it's kind of interesting to see how he is trying to push you. And it's a lot of questions because I don't know quite yet where this is going, right? But there's a lot of open questions on the like, why are you even doing this? What is the reason behind you pushing your students the way you do? I mean, not just from an isolation perspective, but everything. Like, it all goes over the top, right? Every training session they have is over the top till they fall apart and just fall to the floor and are exhausted till no end. It's like, what is your agenda behind that? Like, where is this coming from? Do you really have to do that to learn the magic system or not? Especially,
we do hear clarity later in the book that no.
yeah, and like especially with Fitz having these situations where he is really, really good at the beginning with his abilities, and then all of a sudden it stops for him.
Yeah.
And there are like just so many questions, really, on where, why, when, why now, what is happening here. So yeah, in general, both of the magic systems, I'm so curious to see how that continues as the story continues, or like what the answers are.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it does form a lot of the ongoing sort of threads in the story around the ways the magics are different and where they do and don't overlap. It's my favourite magic system, but I'm very old school in that I like a soft. It's magic. That's
Yeah.
why it works.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you're not wrong with that.
I think that's
And,
part
and
of it.
this is another part of the story that on a second read, you can see
Yeah, yeah,
what's on the page and you're like, oh, okay. Whereas just living it with Fitz, you're just copying
yeah,
the outward perspective of it, not knowing the reasons. And it's brutal. And the cruelty of it, there's an element of sadism to it that is quite disturbing.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, also with the where things then come together at the end when they do the test, where they're sent out
Yeah,
and
he
they're
gets sent
tested,
to-
right? Where Fitz is dropped off further away than the others. And then he has to go through that zombie city again too, and all of these kind of things that happen, right? I mean, there's a mix of things of, okay, now they're getting rid of me. Now I've done
Very
you know,
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's not no doubt now.
yeah. exactly. So now I'm at the point where I'm useless to them, and where I've done my duty. I'm not usable for anything anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm not needed. So yeah.
It's there's a brutality to it. It's just.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to come back to was the fact that it was Lady Patience who badgered the king to make sure Fitz had all of the training he was entitled to as Chivalry's son. And I will always love her for that.
Mm-hmm.
Always. The fact that she was like, excuse me, this child is your grandson? Can we at least be teaching him?
Yeah.
You know, love that. I love that so very much. And there's a push from Shade for him to really do well at this. So the pressure on Fitz at this point is massive. So
Yeah.
to be seen to fail at it, this young man who believes to the core of his being that if he's not useful, they will do away with him. To fail at it and to then be dumped off at Forge.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of him. They're doing everything shy of putting a noose around his neck. His sense of value, of worth, it's in the toilet at that point of the book. I mean,
Yeah.
he's still alive, which is a miracle,
Mm.
but he has no purpose now. You know, what does he do? And you really, really feel that when you're reading this isolation and this sense that I'm no good to anybody. What am I going to do? They're not going to let me leave. They're not going to, what do I, and the aimlessness of this boy. Oh, I wanted to hug him so badly.
Oh.
But it was just, I was just like, I could feel that emptiness in him. And Hobb's a genius.
It's this, the genius is also the darkness without it being dark, if that makes any sense, right? But if you read dark fantasy, you usually have it on the page, very obvious
Yes.
where the darkness is, and she doesn't do that at all.
No, he really doesn't.
Yeah. Fitz has no room to fail and is only seen by others in the context of the roles and purpose he has towards serving others. Yeah.
I will
Well-
say to though, Zach, from Fitz's perspective.
Yes.
Because when you look, it's that unreliable narrator thing again, because Patience has gone to bat for this boy.
Yeah.
You know, this boy who caused the downfall of her husband, this boy who gave her a nervous breakdown when he was, announced at court. She fought for him. That's not a transactional relationship. That's somebody who cares about a little boy. There are people who care about this boy, but Fitz doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Because
It's-
for him, it's all transactional. I have
Yeah.
to give people worth for me to get any kind of love or care or respect, anything. Yet, as adults reading the story, we can see these people really care about this kid. They're trying to do their best by him. And he's closed himself off to a lot of it because of being abandoned, because he believes his puppy got killed, because all of these things. And that unreliable narrator aspect of it makes reading it so brilliant because we can see that Bert really cares about this kid and he's
Yeah.
trying really hard to stop him from screwing up his life. And we can see Patience wanting so desperately to claim him as her son, and she can't. And Fitz doesn't register at all how deeply these people are caring for him. And that makes it doubly tragic to read it because, you're in Fitz's head and you can see that he craves so badly what these people are trying to give him.
Yeah.
Pull
Well,
himself away from it.
yeah. And also just I think for me, it was the general understanding of him that he doesn't really know who am I actually really, because it's this constant back and forth on, I am the son of this guy. No, I'm not, but because no one wants me there. But then, I'm the stable boy, but no, I'm not either because and so on. Like it's this constant back and forth from I'm part of this group in the city. No, I'm not because I'm living in the castle, right? Like it's this constant back and forth of also not fully understanding where do I even belong in this world. And that
Yeah.
as a, I mean,
He's
between
not a
6 and
stable boy.
16, right? How old
Yeah.
is he when the book ends? He's like in six.
He's 15, 16 at
Yeah.
the end.
So that is a 10-year, over 10 years. Like, that's your identity, to not have an identity.
That's
essentially.
right. And to be trotted out on occasion as royalty.
Yeah.
You know, oh, we're going to acknowledge you and treat you like a prince right now, because that's what we need. We need the bastard son that we've acknowledged. So you're going to get the fancy clothes and you're going to sit at the high table. But when you've done your job, you go back to being in the stables now, thanks, looking after the dogs. His identity is so wrapped up in what they need from him. It's really quite heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's why he does keep himself shut. Because
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, to be fair,
Yeah.
right? If you
Oh,
would be in the
I-
situation,
genuine abandonment issues.
yeah. Yeah.
Genuine. He absolutely believes nobody wants him. And it's tragic.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is. It's just heartbreaking. But we mentioned that in the testing for the coterie for the skilled users, and they abandoned him out by Forge. Of course, we also have. We'll come
No,
back.
no spoilers to AQ, please.
Yeah, we'll come back to that when they get there.
Oh, yes. That's, yes. Okay.
In moving through Forge, the only reason he leaves where he's been set down is because at this point, he has a new puppy that he's hidden from Burrick. And he's with that puppy mentally when the puppy is in saving Burrick's life.
So sorry, real quick to go. That was yet another proof for me that the first puppy was dead, because he was so far away from him and he still had a connection to that second dog. But on the first dog, I mean, the first dog was far away from him, but he didn't have that connection anymore. Like that was just yet another, maybe not at that moment where it was like, ha, see, he's dead kind of thing. But it was just, there were so many things throughout the whole story where it's like, this dog is dead. So, sorry, go ahead.
And that, I think, was deliberate to some degree.
Yeah.
And
So he was,
it leans into the belief, I think, of Fitz in believing that Nosy was gone. He's not reaching for Nosy.
yeah.
But he was communicating with Smithy, and knowing that Burrick was attacked is what spurred him to move from where he was, where he'd been told to wait and stay and await instructions. And he makes the journey back and he encounters the Forged Ones and he has to deal with that. And it's still, even now when I read them, it always surprises me how much Fitz relies on his wit to know when people are around him. He's actually really unobservant. Yeah,
I mean, he's a young boy, right? He's a naive little young boy. So I mean, to a certain extent, it feels pretty real.
Yeah, I just sort of think most kids, and I mean at this stage he's what, 12, 13,
Yeah.
and most kids at this point are going to notice if there are people around. But he's so reliant on the wit. It's such a fundamental part of who he is that those are the senses he uses to register when people are near.
Yeah.
And it always surprises me how surprised he gets when there are people who are forged and he can't sense them. It's a weird thing to find funny, but I do. I find that funny because, here's a kid who's being taught to be observant and he's really not very observant.
In other things, right? Like you then have other scenes where his assassin's training comes through a little bit in other ways, not in the, okay, I see, like he is not good at translating the obvious.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I should rephrase that. Fitz is remarkably clever when he's put on a trail. If he's sort of pointed in the right direction and said, follow that lead, he's great. He can follow that information. He will find what needs finding. but he's not good at looking around and going, there's a trail. Someone has to point that out to him, and then he's fine. He's like a sniffer dog. He's like, he needs something to sort of prime
I
him.
mean, he
to look
connects
for the thing.
he connects with dogs, so that's where he has
Yeah.
that from. I don't know.
But yeah, that always, and this is why I do call him an idiot, and I love him. He's my idiot. But you could be stood in front of him with red flags going, dude, this is a thing that's happening. But until someone else goes, oh, look, there's a thing happening, he just doesn't register what is going on. And it can be really annoying.
I'm curious. Like this might be a weird question. I don't know. But you know how their conversation when it comes to fantasy often where it is like how terrible the women are written, like male authors writing women, and it's always terrible. So
Yeah.
now we have a female author who is writing a young boy. How good or bad or realistic or not was that? Did you even think about any of that while you were reading it? For both of you, the question really.
Well, what's kind of interesting as I'm listening to this, like I didn't picture a lot of these things, like at me as a young kid, like I absorbed the identity of the people I was around, so we're kind of talking about that to the extremes of he's picking up Burrick and then Chade and then these types of people and patients. But like when I was with my sports friends, I was the sports guy, like when I was with my friends from my neighborhood and we were just out in the woods, like building tree forts and all, I was a different person. Then I was a different person at home. So like, I don't know. I kind of picture a lot of this as just being a young boy. And then maybe I was also just kind of clueless in life, but I probably was the person that you need to flag the red flags in front of me, or otherwise I wasn't going to pick up a lot of these things. It's like I don't know. I guess as an adult, like it becomes more and more clear, like when women are actually interested in you, that type of thing. But when you're a guy, like you have
Yeah.
no clue. You're just like, oh, they're friendly to me or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I pictured him as a young man first, and then I guess like a bastard second who's being kind of bandied about as a pawn in everyone else's game, because I pictured myself in him. So, Josephine, like to answer your question, I thought that he was written really well. Like I wasn't able to separate him being written by a woman versus being written by a man or something like that. That definitely never came up in my eyes.
Very cool.
I mean, obviously, I don't have the experience of being a young boy. But I am the parent of a boy. I have lived around boys, and
Yeah.
I found it very true to how I've encountered boys. The innocence to Fitz, particularly as you point out, Todd, around women, is because he has almost no women in his life. He doesn't have a
Yeah.
mother. He doesn't have aunts. What relationships he does have with women, the only one with any emotional connection is Patience. And he's very limited in what time he can spend with Patience. And because of who she is to him, there's a real awkwardness in that relationship. He genuinely has no idea how to interact with women because he just doesn't. All of the people in his life, all of his role models, they're all men. And none of those men are in relationships.
Yeah.
It's a really poignant thing to remember is that he has had no maternal figure in his life anywhere. He genuinely doesn't know what to do with emotions. He just doesn't. So he just bottles them up, and we'll see how that goes for you, Fitz.
Yeah, I can tell you that. I lived that for 30 years. I can tell you where this is going to go. But
Yeah, no, we're good.
yeah, also the in the chat, just to get back to some of those comments in the middle of things again. The struggle about telling Molly her father was dying because he was trying to notice the things. In general, the relationship with Molly to the point of awkwardness around women till he finally understood what is going on with his feelings for her.
Yeah.
The awkwardness around women, that never goes away. That's just like a guy thing. I still don't even know how to interact with women, and I'm married to one, so it's
Go
it's
I
just
mean, you
yeah, it was
clearly
very
interact with her.
I had a mother figure, I had a grandmother. It had nothing to do with it. Men are just weird around women. Like, we just don't pick up a lot on these things. We don't know how to talk to them. It's very odd.
That is awesome.
Maybe I should have phrased it. He doesn't know how to accept care.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the relationship with Molly, I always think was really sweet, because he can read, and he can read the tablets that she's got from her mother, and that always struck me as such a beautiful moment that he was able to give Molly, and even he in that moment recognizes that what I'm doing right now is a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved that moment in the book. I mean, there are so many. Robin Hobb does them beautifully, where it's literally just a conversation, but there's so much meaning in the moment. I mean, it's not the words on the tablet that are important. It's knowing what those words are means to Molly.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. It really is. She learns her own name in that conversation. Molly Nosegay as opposed to Molly Nosebleed. Little things that kids, if they don't have these relationships with their parents, don't learn about themselves. I think that Robin Hobb does just a beautiful job of that, of showing that this generational trauma isn't just for Fitz. We see it for Molly, and we see it to some degree with Verity and Regal with their mother issues going on. It affects all people, whatever relationships that they've had in their lives.
Yeah.
He shows you just by having them be people reacting to situations.
Yeah. And environment too, right? Like, she also does it beautifully with the difference of growing up as a royal versus not.
Yeah.
Like, the environment too, how that impacts your life. I mean, understandably, but it's a big part too.
And you see the difference in the way Regal and Verity are treated, in that one was the son of a political marriage, one was the son of a passionate marriage. The relationship that each have with their father is very different. They grew up in they're both in Buck Castle. They have the same man as their father, and yet their experience of living as a prince is very different. Verity is expected to work for the crown, to do work for the crown, to go to do negotiations, to go and monitor border disputes and all the rest of it. Regal's had the trappings. He's the pampered son. He's the son of the woman that the king loved.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of relationship differences that we see as people in the real world. We see stepchildren and real children and adopted children, and they may all be loved, but everybody gets loved differently for whatever reason. And it affects the children.
Yep.
So she's amazing at it. The way she's able to show so many different kinds of relationships through a first-person POV.
Yeah. All right. Difficult for Fitz to realize all the things Patient has done for him when more often than not he can only observe and register people who aren't all there, or people that fit into his own unreliable narrative that he is only valuable for the role he plays serving others. Yeah?
Yeah, he genuinely can't see it.
Yep. Interesting. So many questions. So many questions. One of the other big questions, just to talk about some of the other characters, amazing characters in this book too, is the Fool.
Yeah.
Which I thought was such a, like, the vagueness of this character is so interesting. I really hope we get so much more. I mean, there's a whole trilogy called Fool something something, so I hope we get more answers. But this whole, you said this earlier with, right, he just came through the wall type of things.
Yeah, he just pops into a scene and you're like,
Disappears randomly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the entire mystery around him is one of the best things about the book.
Yeah.
Because, at one point, I think in the very beginning, he's written in a way where, all right, well, I'm even calling him a him, and then later on, I believe that he kind of like blends the two, where Fitz is, well, he doesn't really fit in as a man or as a woman. And then, it's just, again, I think I called him an enigma earlier, where you just don't know anything about them outside of, like, in the illustrated editions. Like, I was even having a hard time kind of like picturing what this character looked like until the illustration came along.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you only at the very beginning of the book, you get a little bit of where the king says, oh, it's, to me, it sounded like a little bit, he's calling him retarded. Like, he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
He's just doesn't,
Yeah.
like, he's just there for entertainment type of thing. So.
That's right. And because of his otherness, his complete lack of colour, it's unnerving for people to interact with the Fool. And Fitz is the only one who engages with Fool as a person, who sees him and will look him in the eye, however uncomfortable that is. And so Fool is more willing to interact with Fitz because he gets treated like a person rather than this weird thing that follows the king around.
Yeah.
And yet even Fitz is shocked when he realizes that he's not stupid. Fool isn't dumb. He's not mute. He's capable of thought and fully formed sentences.
Yeah.
Because he gets dumped this weird expression on him, and he's like, "Do you need help? What do I need to be doing?" And the Fool kind of breaks off and goes, "No, you idiot! This is supposed to mean something to you." And he spews it again. And Fitz is like, "Whoa, you're a sentient person." And it really, really points out how strange Fool is, how this sort of androgynous, I picture him almost as like the old Harlequin clowns, the white-faced clowns, where they're very sexless. It's purely about expression and movement and how they express. And that's very much how Fool comes across, and then he will spout something ridiculous, and like only for you to realise later that he knew exactly what he was saying, what he said was relevant, and you needed to stick butter down the small dog's throat because fat fixes fats and musses. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this kind of oracle type of situation too, right? Like he has these capabilities that even for the Fool, I mean, he even, at least that's how I understood it, acknowledges that he doesn't even fully know why he's saying certain things at certain times, right?
Yeah.
And very interesting. That relationship between the two in general, how it comes closer and closer, and the Fool kind of sees him, or like, I don't know if I'd call it friendship or allyship or what, but there's definitely something going on where the Fool also, again, now all of a sudden cares for Fitz and wants him to succeed in whatever way.
Yeah, and because he was
Soul seeing, yes.
future knowing manipulator of fates. Well, I mean, Fool was trying very, very hard. He was pushing, Fool was pushing very hard for Fitz to not do the skill training. And even though he helped look after Smithy, he still was saying, you don't have to do this. You could just not do this, until after the climactic events where he is so badly beaten. And then he flips the page completely, and he's like, well, now you have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And Fitz is like, but you didn't want me to go. Why do you now? And Fool's like, because what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. So he's had the sense that something awful was going to happen to Fitz, and he wanted to prevent it.
Yeah.
If something awful happened and it didn't kill Fitz, go back. Whatever they tried to stop you doing, you can now do.
Yeah.
Do the thing. And it's interesting to me that Fool's first instinct is to protect Fitz from what he sees. Don't go. Something bad will happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of awesome. But did you pick up the response from Burke to Galen beating Fitz?
You're gonna have to
Didn't.
remind me.
Yeah.
He hears it as a story from Molly about the stable master calling out the skill master and challenging him at the witness stones. And he basically beat the living shit out of Galen.
Yeah.
He deserved it. He so deserved it.
Yeah. And Burke didn't say a word.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
He found out because Molly told him.
yeah, again, it's just yet another example of these kind of things that happen off the page to the side. Like
Yeah.
these little gestures. I mean, it's not a little gesture to completely,
But that's it.
punch someone in the face, but
It drives the events around Fitz, but it's happening away from Fitz.
Yep.
And reading it, you can see those things happening. You just have to kind of look to the side of Fitz's blinkers and kind of pick up the hints as Fitz is going along.
yeah.
But that for me was a beautiful thing because Burke was like, no. And again, this is one of the moments where this is a scene that tells you he would never kill a dog because his whole thing is you don't teach with violence. You don't teach by hurting people. And that's what you've done. And so he's beat the living crap out of Galen because that's not what you do.
On the other hand,
Children.
he showed quite some violence again at that point. So it could also be seen as yet another argument. Like, yes, he has these violent streaks every now and then, so he is capable of it.
Yeah.
An instance where context will give you more later, which I can't go into because you don't have that bit of context yet. So,
I tell you one thing though, after I'm so hyped right now already just because of this conversation. So thank you too for doing this. Just before I forget saying this, I'm currently reading Of Blood and Blah 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 by Ryan Cahill. I think I need to put this aside for a second and pick up book 2 and start reading book 2 after this because I'm just like gots to know. You're welcome to join me, Todd.
find out from both of you because I do remember way back when I first read Assassin's Apprentice. I remember sort of thinking, oh yeah, it's okay, it's okay for most of the book, and then suddenly I was ravenous for this book, and I got to the end and I was like, but I have to know what happened now. And I don't know at what point in the story I went from going, yeah, okay, this is pretty good, yeah, okay, to I love this book and I'm in. Only that I did. Did either of you find it that way, that you didn't really feel completely in, and then all of a sudden you were? How did that go for you guys? Did either of you even have that experience? I don't know.
Well, by the end, like I mentioned, with the forged people kind of like being one of the things that I was most drawn to. I feel like a lot of the things that I was most drawn to were the things that were kind of happening, as we've kind of said, like in the background. Like the Red Ship Raiders, these Islanders. What is exactly happening there? The Farseer bloodline. What is happening with them? The Fool, I think at one point they said that he's like a different race of being or something like that. So where exactly did he come from? Is he common amongst those types of people? And then even going back to kind of Galen and his relationship with Fitz, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the reason that he holds so much hatred towards him was because Chivalry beat him with the skill into submission until a point where he loved chivalry, or was at least like I don't know, like a follower of his, or respected him, or something like that. You know, so to kind of learn more about chivalry, and then to that end, like I know we're kind of told at one point like he was thrown off of a horse despite being this expert horseman, but then was he assassinated? So like all of these mysteries are what's really kind of driving me to continue with the story. You know, like I do enjoy Fitz as the driver of this narrative, but I think it's everything that's encircling the narrative that I am most interested in.
Yeah. Just saying hi real quick to Kai. Hello, hello.
I mean, some of that, with Galen in particular, you do get his story pretty much enclosed in
Okay.
Assassin's Apprentice. I mean, we watched Verity end him
Yeah.
toward the end of the book. But we also, in that moment, see Fitz's understanding of who Galen even was. Because he was a child, he didn't get the court gossip. He didn't know who Galen was. He didn't know that he was the older son of the Queen before she married the King. And it was Regal's older brother. He didn't know that. He didn't know that Galen had been cruel to Verity, and so chivalry had skilled him to be incredibly loyal. And no, you can't do that anymore. Now you cannot not treat him well. And for that to be the reason it's been flipped and he's lashed out so violently against Fitz.
Yeah.
There's his part of that is mostly done. You know, but the fact that there was that much there that you don't get until that final skill conversation with Verity. You know, as he's draining Galen and saying to Fitz, "I'm sorry, but you can't lash out now at Regal. That would spoil a lot of things. So you have to keep all of this to yourself." You can see Fitz in that moment try and reshuffle his own understanding of what's happened, because now it makes better sense for him. And yet he's still a young man, and he kind of gets the shift in perspective, and he kind of doesn't, and it just sort of sits there as knowledge, you know. And how he later comes to terms with it, you see in the epigraphs at the beginning of each chapter, you know, where he sort of says, "I see now, looking back," you know, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Which I think is just a marvelous storytelling tool to
Yeah.
give you that insight from later while you're reading it happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I had, I mean, other than the dog situation that we already talked about, I don't think I had ever a moment where I was like, I was in pretty much from the beginning, because I loved everything from the beginning. I loved the whole feel that the story gave me. I loved the setting. I'd love to get to know Fitz and like everything that happened, because it was never like a just lulling moment. There was always something going on the entire time. And for what the book was, I feel I actually read it pretty fast too, even though I didn't at the same time. It's such a weird thing, because there's so much going on, so many characters that you then start observing and following along. It's like, what's happening now? And so you want to continue reading, and you know, there's just one more chapter when you're laying in bed, but then at the same time, like, okay, it still took me 2 weeks together. Like, it's such a weird, like, I haven't had a reading experience like this in a while, and it's so interesting, like how everything is set up and how everything fits together, and at the same time leaves all these questions. And that's exactly what Todd was saying. Like, I'm sitting here, I just have all these questions now, and I just want to know how it continues, and that's my big motivation to continue, besides the fact that I love what I've seen of the magic system. But you don't really know anything, right? You don't. I mean, I couldn't explain the magic system to you. I couldn't explain the royal family in all detail to you, like basics, right? Like, I know who the king is and who, not to the point, like, who is the following, whatever. But like Verity, like, we had a whole scene where he was sitting in the tower and wasted away. Like, there are so many questions on what happened there. And it's like, I just want to, you know, understand more on how this, anyway. It's like there's just so much going on that needs answers on the on the ones. Yeah, the first one is like 400 and something pages, which is not
And it's
huge,
little.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but they get pretty chunky. Yeah, yeah.
They do. One of the things that I did really like knowing, and it's something that she's repeated many times, Robin Hobb, is that she wanted to explore the concept of a magic system that was addictive. And so we see that in Verity in the Tower,
Yeah.
where he can't be drawn away from the magic.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is for him to be drawn back to reality and to do such mundane things as eating and sleeping, and what that does to him. And that's a fascinating thing to look at in terms of just purely from an addiction standpoint, what that does to people's minds. And for it to be this noble magic, it becomes this very strange two-faced coin, because you don't want your royalty to be addicted to something
See,
that
that's
hit-
interesting. I didn't even. Yeah, that might be something that becomes more clear in later books, because for me it's his noble duty because he has the skill to
Yeah.
protect the realm from these pirates,
right.
essentially,
And
right?
the using it and the not using it, and should you and wanting to use it and having to use it, and what using it is doing to him physically because
Yeah.
of the drain on him. It's a fascinating thing to look at. The other thing too is
Fair.
well, yeah, true.
Very fair.
Is that the questions that you get answers to, you think are great. You're like, oh, excellent, I've got the answer to this question. And then further on, you get more answer that gives you better understanding. So even when you get answers, there's still more to question.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
And this is the wonderful thing, that having somebody like me around who has read it this many times, I can promise you there is payoff. The mysteries will be answered. I'm not going to tell you when or how.
Yeah, please don't. Please
There's a
don't.
lot of there is payoff. These books give you payoff. I recently had, how do I say this? I had a delightful Discord conversation at some ungodly hour of the morning, because somebody messaged me on Discord and it pinged me, and their message made me go, I'm having this conversation now. I don't know, it's the middle of the night and I've just woken up. And we've sat there and we've basically just gone, I cried so hard I hurt myself, because it was such a good moment.
Oh, please don't tell me more dogs being killed.
No, a good moment. A good moment. But it was such a strong payoff. It was such an emotional reward that basically this person just had to message somebody. And I love the fact that they knew that if they messaged me, I would be, yep, I'm here. And I got to experience their first experience of that moment, and to be able to share and go, yeah, I did the same. You know, I was in tears typing in the conversation, and I've read these books a lot. And I'm not directly reading the scene as I'm typing, but just talking to them about the scene had me as emotional. That's the level of payoff you can reach in this series.
How long do you think it will take if we start now to finish the series in one go? How long do you think this will take? How much is it going to derail our reading plans? The entire thing. All, what,
I
17
don't
books?
recommend that.
A while.
I don't recommend that. I do recommend you take a break between each section, and quite a substantial break after Tawny Man, because Tawny Man was the end of the series for many years, and so its climax is a big climax.
What
And
books
then
are those?
come back to Rain Wilds. It's a brand new beginning somewhere else in the world that brings in more story to the greater whole that gets tied up and fits in the full.
All right, let's do that, because I don't have the names of all the Realm of the Elderlings, just so we get
I'm glad you're looking them up.
yes.
So So you got
Okay.
Farseer. Next is live ships. Don't wait too long for live ships after you do Farseer.
That's
You
also
are
a
moving away
trilogy.
from Fitz when you go to live ships. You are going to a completely different part of the world. You're going from first person POV to multi person POV.
Mm.
It's very different writing style, different part of the world, different magics.
So that is Ship of Magic, Mad Ship, and Ship of Destiny, just in
Yeah.
case you want the titles of the individual books.
And a number of people put it off because they don't want to read something that isn't Fitz. And they finally read live ships because they know they have to read live ships to get to Tawnyman to get back to Fitz. Which is also why people sometimes skip live ships, which I very much don't recommend. There's important stuff in live ships. And then you go back to Tawnyman, where the information you get from live ships added to what you get in Farseer gives you Tawnyman. And Tawnyman is exceptionally good.
So that's the Fool's Errand where you have the poster in the back, right? That's the first book of it. I'm seeing this right here. Yeah. So we get more of the Fool too. Is the title? Sorry, go ahead.
There are time jumps between each of these sets of books. So taking a break works. It doesn't hamper your enjoyment. There are people I know, I mean, Bookborn and Murphy, and there are just taking year-long breaks doesn't harm your enjoyment of the series because there are in-world gaps between the trilogies. So when we visit to the next place, you get references of what happened in the previous trilogy.
Okay, good. Good,
Thing
good,
that
good.
happened back then, to give you a sense of time scale. And you get Fitz's aging up in different trilogies. So it's reading them back to back to back is a lot.
Yeah. And then Tawnyman, since it's called Fool's Errand, the Golden Fool, Fool's Fate, so we get more of the Fool in that one, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good. And then we have the Rainwild Chronicles, which is a quartet, which is that the one that people hate and just read through to get through?
The Rainwilds is the stepchild of the series, where it gets more bad press than it deserves. In a 16-book long series, something has to be at the bottom of the list in terms of everyone's favourite. It tends to be Rainwilds, but here's the thing. The people who don't know that Rainwilds is part of a bigger series and read it separately on its own first, love it. Those people remain in love with it after they go back to the beginning and read the whole series.
Does this have to do with at the end or towards the end of Assassin's Apprentice, we are going into the Rainwild, right? Rainwild or meet something was with Rainwild at the end. I don't recall it exactly anymore, but we went somewhere else where he then found his dog that then got killed again for real this time.
The in Jampe in the Mountain Kingdom, it borders. It's a different border to the Rainwilds.
Okay.
Buck is. Where am I? If this is Buck, Buck's on the coast here. Here is Chelmsford States, and inland is a mountain range, and that mountain range is where Jampe is. So Jampe is the back border of the Rainwilds, and Chelmsford is the north border of the Rainwilds. So they're in there,
Gotcha.
sort of.
Gotcha. Do we see a little bit more of that in the Rainwild Chronicles? Was that like a first hint of this, or does this have nothing to do with what's happening in the if you can talk about it without spoilers?
You will get a little bit of. Yeah, no, that's not true. You will get far more knowledge about the Rainwilds when you get to the live ship traders,
Gotcha.
and that will lead into the Rainwild Chronicles after Tawnyman. The other thing to know is, again, take a really big break after Tawnyman because it has this big end of series conclusion. Rainwilds was interfered with a lot by the publishers. It starts a whole set of new threads. anyone who's read A Song of Ice and Fire, this is the feast for crows after A Storm of Swords, where it just gets bad rap because it doesn't maintain that same pace. It's
Gotcha.
new beginnings of arcs. It's
It's
hard
the-
to live to a climactic book
Yeah.
when you're
It's
starting
the-
with characters and having to establish, a place.
Yeah.
But Rainwilds is where you get the lore drops. All of the deep lore
Gotcha.
in Rainwilds. So it's.
I mean, I just love that it is dragons in the titles. They are my favorite covers. Just without knowing anything about the stories, they are my favorite covers.
When you get there, you're going to love them. You
I'm
are-
sure. That's the thing. So, for those of you who don't know, Derri and I had a lot of conversations back and forth because she wanted me to read Robin Hobb and I want her to read Green Rider. And the Green Rider series has a similar arc. It's not 16 books, it's 9 at this point. No, I'm lying. 8. Book 9 is coming out early 2027. And there's also a book in there, book 5, that is treated as the stepchild. And everything you just said, I was like, yeah, same with the Green Rider series. Same. Because there's such a big thing happening at the end of book 4. People know, like, through 4 books, what the story is. Ooh, it tells me I have 30 minutes left in my free plan limit. All right. Okay, so we need to finish within 30 minutes of our conversation. Got it. Thanks,
Yeah.
weird,
Exactly.
funky
Right.
ball dancing around for giving me that message. But it's the same, right? Like big climax on book 4, and then book 5 takes it off on kind of a different tangent. It's my
Yeah.
favorite. I love what Christopher did with that. So now I'm really excited to hear the same with Robin Hobb. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
3 trilogies. I can get it done, and then we get to the good stuff.
Then you get to the stuff that explains everything else ultimately. It just, after Tawny Man, and it is a difficult sell. Tawny Man is incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. Because after Rainwilds, Farseer is the next trilogy
Fits into Fool.
on the ranking.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
So at the bottom you've got Rainwilds, and then for most people Farseer is next.
Gotcha.
And then it's a
Really?
three-way tie between Live Ships, Tawny Man, and Fits in the Fool. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll speak in, like, I don't know, 2-3 years again, and then we'll see.
Oh, hey, we're speaking before then. You guys are going to come back and we're going to talk about Royal Assassin.
Oh yeah. Well.
Oh my
yeah.
God, stuff happens in that. I mean, what are you guys hoping for in Royal Assassin? What do you anticipate in that one?
Wait,
I
was
don't
just
even
like,
know. I try not to have any expectations anymore going into books because it usually is vastly different than what I would expect. Again, I mean, I went into this book thinking that it was about assassins jumping off of roofs and killing people and things like that. So,
I mean, again, kinda.
More like go with the flow.
Well, we got this coming from Zach here. It was the toughest of the 3 for me emotionally, which great, awesome, something to look forward to. And then Assassin Quest was a breath of fresh air in comparison to Royal Assassin. Got it. Yep. Yeah, that's the so same. I'm looking for answers. So I will go into it and it's like, give me all the answers. My only worry is the that emotional piece of it, because that's what everybody is saying, that it gets so much more emotional, and I'm sitting there as like, okay, which dog is being killed now? Right? That's my level of emotion. So that's where I'm going to be sitting there reading this, like, okay, no.
Okay,
the
I
dogs
promise
are
you
like-
now, there are no dog killings in Royal Assassin. Okay,
That makes me a lot happier. You have no idea.
no dogs are killed in Royal Assassin.
But later,
I'm happy to give you this on a book-by-book basis.
great.
Mostly because I can't, off the top of my head, remember what happens when I
Fair.
focus on.
Fair. Mark, how are you doing?
Talking about dogs, how is yours?
Yeah, how are you doing? How's everything? If you want to join, we have about like 25 more minutes that we can talk. No, I'm lying, 20. You're welcome to join with a link for the last minute. If you feel up for it, don't feel forced.
All good.
You are fine. Everything is good. Next time, book 2. We already talked about if you guys are up for that. So we did this as a buddy read in the BookTube Creator Guild. For those of you who don't know, this is a little group of booktubers. We just, have a little Discord where we talk analytics, business side of things, because we all are rich from making YouTube.
Rolling.
And yeah, exactly. I'm wearing this thing as a hat now. I'm just realizing this. Good. And the buddy read is happening in there. So if you are a booktuber and you are not part of the Booktube Creator Guild, if I remember after this live stream is done, I will put the link in the description box down below. So feel free to join our Discord. And there we are doing the buddy read. So long-winded way, Mark, of telling you that we are going to read book 2 probably very soon. I know you just finished book 1, so you are right at time, right? Like, this is how it works. Todd is up for it. He said yes earlier. He was nodding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, hallelujah. That is good to
That's
hear.
good.
Oh, good. Awesome. Thanks for letting us know. That dog's never good. So yeah, we are going to read book 2 very soon, Mark, and you're part of that, of course. And then we just do another live stream after book 2 or 3 or whenever we feel like it again, and then you're part of that conversation. Yay! All right. So and then, scroll. Rainwald Chronicles, and then Fits in the Fool. That's the last one. Fool's Assassin, Fool's Quest, Assassin's Fate.
Yeah.
Are we going to get real assassins at that point then? Like, assassins, or is it still?
I think by then you'll know the answer to that.
So the answer is no. We'll see. Yeah, but I think that's for me, like, the takeaway. Oh my God, cables. That's for me the takeaway after just reading book 1 is this is just going to be a series where you just have to go along with. Similar to Malazan, where you just have to go along with. Like, you cannot sit there and be like, oh my God, what is happening? Why is this happening? When is this happening? You just have to roll with it and have ideally like some
on this journey.
Yeah, like take some notes on the side. It's like, oh, he said something here, question mark, and then just move on with, yeah.
Wonderfully, some of the things that you'll read that you don't even think are even vaguely important are going to come back.
So you have to remember stuff. Got it.
But that's because you don't. It's more a question of when things come back round, you're like, oh my God, that came back round. And now it's important. What? It's
Well, we definitely have to do another conversation like this.
Yeah.
This conversation has actually made me remember more about the book than I thought initially going into this conversation. I was very nervous, and then I was like, oh yeah, I do remember that as like a separate plot line or something that happened in the background.
Yeah.
So this has actually been really helpful going into book 2.
Yeah.
I am glad. And the epigraphs, again, they're one of the cleverest ways I've seen to give you more information without having an info dump that's really awkward. Mm-hmm. Because it's done in a way you believe that yes, he's aged and he's just writing his thoughts out because he's he's edgy and he's desperate for something to keep his mind off his pain. So you get these info dumps, but you get them in ways that work and that give you more meaning, and it's such a clever way to do it.
Yeah. Just as you just said it, this series is not info dumpy.
No.
At least book 1 wasn't. I can't speak for the whole series, but there's no real info dumpy situation going on, which is super interesting.
It's very much show, don't tell.
Yeah. Which, that's how it's done, my friends. This is how it's done. Talk about scroll thoughts here. Here is a question for you, Todd.
Oh yeah, I will be getting back to reviewing Stephen King. It got away from me. I'm still reading Stephen King every month. Just haven't been reviewing him every month. Newborn life is very exhausting. So that's why it's like I'm kind of sporadic on YouTube at the moment.
Baby
Whenever
brain
I
is
can get in. Yeah.
The time will be
priority.
Yeah, the time will be over faster than you think, is what I've been told. So enjoy as long as you can.
The days are long, but the time goes fast.
Yeah. Well, what's actually been interesting is, so I generally don't like audiobooks, but audiobooks have become kind of like my best friend now. Like I just finished it. Speaking of Stephen King, via
such a cool audiobook, yeah.
It really is, yeah. Like I read it previously, and the way that people sound in my head is totally different. Yeah, I guess I'm very monotone in my life, you know, even in my head, I'm very monotone. So then hearing a professional narrator, like it's been kind of a vastly different experience. In most cases, actually better. But
Okay.
yeah,
Then I need to
so
tell you the
yeah.
audiobooks for that currently exist for
Mm,
Realm of the Elderlings, the Fitz books are okay. Don't audio Live Ships or the Rain Wilds. You must eyeball those at least once before even attempting the audio. Some people don't mind it. I
okay.
personally find it to be an offence against humanity.
Is it worse than Game of Thrones audiobook?
Yes.
Oh my god, those are horrible.
Haven't listened to them.
Roy at least
Oh,
is
don't.
trying to give
Well,
you variation, and he's just old and losing it. The live ships,
all right.
no, no, no.
So, by the way, we've been asked to start over, so we have about like 19 minutes to start the whole conversation over, Josh. Unless you invest in me and make my thing in a paid version, then we can stay for 2 more hours potentially. Although Todd's wife might
I
kill
think she'd
him.
have had enough by
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
I'm sure
Okay,
she
do we
probably.
have time then for me to just say, outside of Fitz, do you guys have a favourite character just from Assassin's Apprentice that isn't Fitz? Who's next?
The fool, hands down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm definitely drawn to that character the most, just because of how mysterious everything is.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I want to believe that he is helpful, but there's something about him where I feel like he might be a little bit manipulative. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Interested to see how that
And
progresses.
manipulative.
Could be. Yeah.
See, all
My
three of us.
time will tell.
Good. Angie, I had your question somewhere here. So that is a good question. I mean, I threw out, well, once we finish here, I might just start with it. But do we want to make it a May? Mark, the question for you too, Mark, if you're still there. Mark. Do we want to do it May? Do we want to do May buddy read of Derri already? Because we're in April, right? April, it's 1 more week, not quite. So we could
Yeah.
officially make a May buddy read.
Yeah, that works for me. Definitely.
So there's your answer, Angie. May. I'll make the channel later. I'll make the channel. Awesome.
Okay, that's exciting.
And then, we have one for, dang it, now that you say that. No, I still think it's the full. Patience is very interesting, though. Like,
I
just
adore Patience.
the
I adore
brashness,
her.
is that a word? Her brashness, is that a word? Like her straightforwardness.
She's
Like-
she's she walks her own path.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, yeah. No, but I agree with the mysteriousness and the fool has more questions
Yeah.
open right now, I think. Okay, May it is. Awesome. May it is.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any last advice, Derri, for Todd and me and everybody else, Mark included too, for like,
Now that you've done Assassin's Apprentice, you're pretty good to just go and do Farseer. All I'll say is Assassin's Quest is enormous. This is not news to anyone. It is a very old school quest. There is a lot of travelling.
oh
There's
my goodness.
a lot of little things that happen, like old school fairy tales, where you learn the things you need to defeat the thing at the end. The
Okay.
nothing happens is said a lot about Assassin's Quest. I personally like hanging out with Fitz, so I never found that to be the case. But that's probably the only thing to be aware of.
Worst
And
case? Sorry.
Royal Assassin is Fitz is older. He's in his mid to late teens, and he's far more engaged in what is actually happening in Buck. So you do get a raise in activity in terms of there is stuff happening for people who are plot driven. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, for the travel side of things, worst case, we'll just do like a live reading thing. Do like an online picnic while we watch Fitz walk around.
Yeah.
We'll just, read it all together and then get through it together.
Yeah, reading sprints for a few days, we'll be fine.
Awesome. Okay, sorry. My YouTube studio is completely hung up on like an hour ago. Sorry, that scroll. All right. Todd, any last words?
No, I appreciate you guys welcoming me on for my first live review or whatever this is. Yeah, and actually it was my first buddy read too. So
Yay!
That was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to the second book.
Yes. Same.
Awesome.
You know a little bit, right? You remember maybe a little bit, or are you completely like, I actually have no idea anymore what's going on?
No, I have no idea what's going on. No, I don't remember much about anything.
We'll leave it that way.
So thank you for having me. And it was lovely to meet you, Todd. And
Yeah,
I
likewise.
very much look forward to the next conversation.
Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Every second of the book. Yes, same here. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone in the chat also for jumping in and sharing your experience and answering all of Derri's questions with us. Todd, Derri, thank you so much for joining in. Derri, especially thank you for joining your wisdom, your Miss Queen Hobb, for joining your wisdom, and then looking forward to the next chat. Yay!
Excited.
Thanks.